Paxton Harrison is headed back to Colorado. The Big Ten and the Paxton Harrison is headed back to Colorado. The Big Ten and the Horizon League released their preseason polls, and the Pittsburgh Riverhounds are expanding Highmark Stadium. All that and more coming up right now on Inside the Game.
Welcome to Inside the Game on the National Soccer Network. Now, here are your hosts, Jonathan Turner and Nathan Wangler.
Well, good morning and happy Thursday morning. It is Inside the Game number 141. It's Thursday, as we said. I'm Jonathan Turner alongside Nathan Wengler. A great show here on tap for you today. And Nathan, man, first off, I got to say this. Happy birthday.
Oh, hey, thank you. Thank you very much. Yep, first time being 29, so we'll see how this goes. It was actually, I think, a family member of mine that came and asked yesterday if it was my first time being 29, and I was like, yep, it is. He goes, cool, I just celebrated my 33rd, 29th birthday, so that's kind of how I'm celebrating it from now on. This is the age where I'm no longer telling anybody how old I am anymore, so don't ask any more birthdays beyond this. Don't worry about it. I'm on the doorstep of 30. But every year brings a little bit more knowledge, and I felt special at the ballpark yesterday. Everybody the mascots did something special. I was up on the big board and everything. So no, it was great, man. But I appreciate, obviously getting to hang out with Amir yesterday on the show, and then obviously having a great game at night. And I mean, that's, it's funny because, people see that as working on your birthday, but the reality is when I was that age anyways and I had a birthday, we were at the ballpark or we were doing something else around the sporting scene in Grand Rapids. So it was no different than any other birthday I've ever had. So special day, special time, but thank you for circling back to it. Appreciate it.
Of course. We're also joined here in studio today with Ryan Glinsky, our producer. And Ryan, good morning to you.
Good morning to you guys. Nate, happy belated birthday.
Man.
Yeah, should be a fun, exciting episode. Got some great topics to talk about, so I'm ready for this action-packed show.
I am as well. Let's actually dive into our talking points here today. What can you expect here on the network on Inside the Game? We'll dive into that right now. Put them up on your screen. There they are. And obviously, we've got our cold open. We just call it the cold open because it's cold. We do maybe lukewarm.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So obviously, in our cold open here, we have to get into it. It was going to be a topic that we were maybe going to talk about. Maybe in another segment, but it came about yesterday. Let's dive into this whole thing. So Mascherano, Javier Mascherano, he is the head coach of Inter Miami. If you don't know who Inter Miami is, you're living in a bubble. And obviously home of Messi and Suarez, and they've made their way, I think, into the semifinals of the League Cup, right? So, but anyways, with that being said, Mascherano yesterday gets red carded right around halftime, or right before halftime. And at this point, it's 1-0. And in any situation where a coach is red carded, they have to leave the technical area, right? So they can't be along the sidelines. They have to be up in the stands or somewhere else. I mean, but this takes it to a whole nother level. He decides during the game to make a phone call to his assistant coach, who's on the sideline and is yelling instructions through the phone. Now, we put the whole phone's a friend thing because I thought that would be funny to have that on the screen, phoning a friend. But literally giving instruction. Now, if this is actually, in fact, true, which by all accounts it looks like it is, his one-game suspension, along with what he got yesterday, is going to be more time away. And so his phoning a friend is going to cost him more than just time. It might cost him a friendship, actually. I don't know, but either way, you can't do that.
You typically phone a friend in order to help you achieve something. You don't phone a friend normally to help you, get that suspension expanded a little bit. Ouch. Yeah, I mean, so that's against the rules. You can't do that. I mean, if you're not in the technical area, you can't be making phone calls to people and yelling out instructions from the stands. So that's clearly he didn't think he was deserving of that red card, and clearly he took it into his own hands. And hey, man, maybe that's just the Inter Miami way now. Maybe they just got that way about them. They can do no wrong because they're trying to be the super team in the MLS. So that kind of comes from the coach. You know, they talk about sometimes fish rots from the head down. Not to say they're rotting; they're doing perfectly fine, but it all starts with him. But yeah, that's a unique approach that I'm certain the MLS will not take kindly to.
No, I would imagine not so much either. And again, you know, these types of things are going to happen, right? We're going to see. I've actually never seen this before. I can't think of a time when you saw a head coach being as blazing as this right here is. I mean,
it's
with
complete
the world
disregard.
in which you live in, where Kiss Cam will catch you in an affair, you would think.
You would know, yeah. It would follow you up there. Yeah, camera guy didn't get a red card. He's still doing his job. So yeah, that's the good catch by the camera crew too. But you got to make it. Even if anything, go back in the clubhouse and make a call. Can't you do that? Well, I guess you can't see the game. No, they got TVs up in there. What am I talking about? Yeah, do it in there. Do it in there. Don't do it in the stands. Come on.
It doesn't make any sense to me. Don't know why you're doing it. I guess congratulations on getting more time away from the game that you love. So congratulations there.
Get out of here.
Yeah,
There
we're
we
gonna
go.
Hey.
Good for you. Good for you. Javier
Well done.
Mascherano, phoning a friend, and in turn getting more time off. We'll obviously
Yeah,
have
you
more
can vote it.
information about that suspension and what that looks like here coming up in maybe later today. Who knows? But hey, when we come back here and get into our first segment this morning, we're going to talk about Paxton Aronson, and he's coming back to Colorado. And if you don't know who Paxton Aronson, he's the brother of Brendan Aronson, also a member of the U.S. men's national team. We'll talk about that and so much more coming up here on the other side of the break. You're watching episode number 141 of Inside the Game.
The Flint City Bucks are Michigan's top soccer franchise with 4 national championships, 9 conference titles, and 15 Great Lakes Division titles. They have produced 107 players for Major League Soccer, and they focus on attracting top talent and shaping soccer's future. Michigan Bucks Academy joins NLS Next new competition tier starting in September of 2025. This offers elevated levels of play and flexibility for high school participation. The Academy will provide premier development, high-performance training, and exposure to scouts through regional tournaments and MLS Next events. For more information on tryouts, training programs, and key updates as we prepare for our first season in MLS Next new tier, visit MichiganBucksAcademy.com.
Welcome back here into Inside the Game. Jonathan Turner alongside Nathan Wangler, and we'll dive in here to Paxton Aronson coming back here to Colorado. And I'm going to bring in Ryan Glinsky for this as well. We'll dive into all of this. And Ryan, you know a lot about the international game. You're a huge fan of the Premier League. Paxton Aronson, in his career across the pond, didn't play a whole lot of time in the Division Ones across the pond. He's coming... again, if we look at his career, he's coming from, is it Utrecht? Utrecht? Utrecht. He's on loan. He was part of Vitesse, and he's also part of the Eintracht Frankfurt Team 2 from 2023 until now. My question for you is this. First off, is this kid any good?
I would say from a U.S. standpoint, he's decent. I think he would be a bench player for the U.S. men's national team come, the World Cup or anything like that. But in the grand scheme of things, probably not. So he started in the Philadelphia Union, made a £4 million move to Frankfurt. Then he had a couple loan spells. His best was when he was in the Netherlands. I think Utrecht is what he said, in the Eredivisie.
Yep.
And then after that, just kind of, Frankfurt's a good team. That's a tough team to break into, especially as an American. That's a very tough one to break through, but he gave it a shot, and but other than that, he's coming back to the Colorado Rapids for $7 million. So Frankfurt did make money on this deal. They made a net worth of $3 million plus added to their bank account. So they made money off him, so they're happy. Aronson finally going to get some playing time here in the MLS, so he's happy as well.
We'll take a look here at Paxton Aronson on your screen. Again, Paxton, he made in total in his career for Frankfurt, I think he had 11 appearances in total. 254 minutes, I believe, is the actual amount. 274 minutes. And he went, again, to Vitesse and Utrecht in Holland, netting 8 goals and 4 assists last season. And, again, you look here, he played in the Gold Cup this summer. He had 2 appearances, though, and played a total of 11 minutes. I think that in itself tells you all you need to know. Hey, he's the brother of Brendan Aronson. All right, and so, again, we know where Brendan's at. We know how high caliber Brendan's going to be. Brendan Aronson is probably, I would imagine, if you think about the overall lineup of what we're going to see, and I think we should be doing our mock lineups here in the coming days and weeks for the U.S. men's national team when it comes to the World Cup. And so we're going to do that here live on the air, probably an entire show. I think would be fun to do that. But with that being said, Brendan Aronson is probably a sure-win starter for this team in 2026, right? I mean, obviously injuries, things like that, right? Things can happen. Players can come out of nowhere. Is this brother even in the conversation of being a backup player in the 20-man roster come World Cup time here in less than a year?
No, I think that's the argument. Like, maybe it's a last-ditch attempt for him to get onto the national team. I don't think that's top of mind as to why he's coming back to Colorado. I think that there may be some discussions as to why he might be one of those last options. But when you talk about on the bubble players, I think Paxton Aronson certainly fits into that conversation. There's a lot of, and it's fascinating to me because when you look at the Reddit trends, and again, you got to be careful when you dive too deep into those because you're just going to get some of the most wild responses, and they're not the most qualified individuals in the world. But what's amazing to me is you see a majority of the U.S. men's national team fan base who actually just doesn't really like this move. They're like, well, Europe's great for developing. Why wouldn't you stay over there? Why wouldn't you stay training with those players? But I think something that we're forgetting in all this, and again, I'm just kind of approaching this from the human element because I do think it's interesting to talk about. I don't think he wanted to be on loan for another year. I mean, that would have potentially put him in a third different country for a third year for Paxton Aronson. And the other thing that I think that we need to keep in mind is, he wasn't a star. I mean, his role on Frankfurt clearly wasn't crucial. He wasn't getting starting minutes anywhere. So he's riding the bench for a lot of different European clubs. And, so that would be really hard for someone who also, let's keep in mind, guys, he's only 21 years old. Like, all of this to be said, he's only 21. So there's still a lot of runway for him to develop and continue to get better and everything. And I mean, clearly he showed enough promise to where he could be on those squads, and he had a decent season on loan. But that's a hard life to continue to be on loan and go from place to place. He was kind of a journeyman, and to be a journeyman at 21 years old is not something that at least I would want to be in my professional career. But at least from my perspective, and again, this is just me, and I don't know how you feel about this, JT, from where you are. Europe is exceptional for development. We've seen that, right? That's been a big part of the American player taking a step forward and really integrating themselves into the world of soccer, is developing through these European leagues. I mean, we've seen a number of them, in an increasing number of them, going overseas. That was something we talked about in a previous episode. But, you know, I hate this mentality that, quote, they're giving up on their dreams if they come back to Major League Soccer. Now, going back to Europe is something that generally doesn't happen for a second time. You see a lot of these players, especially former USMNT players. Think about the Colorado Rapids. I mean, they had someone like Tim Howard. They've had different players who have been on that team. They generally don't go back to Europe. But at just 21 years old, this idea that because he's taken his money, he's coming back to Colorado to be a part of the MLS, that somehow he's giving up on what a bright future may be. He's been in Europe. He's been with those squads. My guess is he's learned the things that he's needed to learn. I think he's just not breaking through. So for him, take your money, get your playing time, be in a position to where you're going to have an opportunity to play every single game. That's where I think he's trying to put himself. So I don't think it's nearly as controversial as what people are making it out to be. I just think it's funny that USMNT fans, while we continue to talk about building the domestic game, are also simultaneously upset that he would come back to the United States and somehow he's selling out. He's selling himself short because he's coming to Colorado. That just doesn't equate to me.
Well, I don't know if he's selling himself short. Again, we've talked about this before on this program. We'll continue to talk about this. If you are playing at a high level and competing at a high level, you're not coming home, right? And so, not now. Again, if you're Matt Turner, perfect example of this, the goalkeeper for the U.S. men's national team overseas, right? He wasn't getting enough time. He's back here now playing for New England. Yeah. And so there are going to be players who make decisions, and we talk about this with Lexi Lalas, and I've talked about it with Luis Robles, former MLS goalkeeper, and he's like, hey, players want to play. And while going over there, you might absolutely get, the training and the challenging environments, but if you're not actually starting and getting minutes and playing consistently day in and day out at a high level, you've got to do something. And so I don't blame him for coming back. He'll play. He'll immediately start on this team because, again, we talk about this. If you're over there, you are going to become one of the best players on your team. And again, I don't know if that's going to be he's going to be the best player, but he'll be one of the best players. So he should start on this roster immediately. Colorado currently sits 7th in the MLS Western Conference, so this will help them also possibly get a boost, right? And possibly, move up, and get themselves into a better spot for playoffs, right? And that would be a better for them. And so I do think this is the right move for him. There's also, if you're not at 19, 20, 21 years old, if you're not competing in a starting lineup or like number 14th on the depth chart, 15th, getting in consistently in Division I across the pond, it's not going to happen at 25. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong. I mean, if you're not getting it at 21, it's not going to happen at 25.
I think Frankfurt viewed him as a prospect. I do. I don't think, like I said, he's been.
And for whatever reason.
Not in the timeline that they thought it would, at least. I'll give you that. That's. And you look at the season he had in the Netherlands last year. I don't agree with this sentiment that he was struggling to find his footing in Europe. I mean, at just 21 years old, like the kid's just blooming. Like he's just getting to the part of his career. He's not into his prime yet. He's still physically developing, which I know is a big thing. He was getting decent minutes and he was making a contribution, and he brought the team to a top 5 finish in the league. Ulrich, or the team that he was on transfer with. I mean, like, he was a significant part of that. So this idea that somehow he's struggling to find his footing, I don't think necessarily holds any weight. If anything, I think this should be an exciting prospect for American fans, because at a point in his career where things could start to turn, and again, Frankfurt did view him as a prospect, at least from everything that I've been seeing, he's coming to Major League Soccer. This isn't a tired, worn out, old USMNT player who's been over there for a million matches, who's finally like, all right, I need a break. I'm going to come play in Major League Soccer. It's kind of the opposite of that. I mean, he's coming at the point of his career where things are maybe actually going up as opposed to the other way around. So yeah, I don't agree with that sentiment that he was somehow lost or spinning in the wind in Europe. I don't agree with that.
I'll say this. This is what I think this move is. What's next summer? The World Cup. This is and you've seen transfers year after year, whether it's like for the Euros are coming up next summer or the World Cup's coming up next summer. Players will either not make the move because they want the playing time, they want the confidence, they want their international managers to see this. And Aronson is not going to be getting playing time with Frankfurt. You might get 3 or 4 games throughout the year. He comes over to the MLS. Pochettino, can see him play week in, week out. He gets his confidence up, gets his touches in consistently, and is consistently playing. That's what I think this move is simply because the World Cup's next year. Aronson goes, I want some consistent playing time before that so I can get picked, play in front of my nation because the World Cup's in America. That's what this move's about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Again, if you are trying to get yourself into this lineup, you got to play. And there's an argument about, okay, well, if you're not playing, and you're still a really good player, you're going to make your way in. I mean, you could have that argument. But again, a player like him, I don't know if I would consider him a fringe player. You know what I mean? You say fringe, right? And so a fringe player is anyone who's in the 18, right? 17. Right, because those are you have your 11, and then you have your 5 or 6 potential substitutes, right? And again, Pochettino, we could sit here all day long. He has a clear idea of what his 11 is going to look like here in a year. I mean, most coaches do. It's like you have a clear idea. What your issue is now, you probably know who your top 7 are, top 8 are. The next 3 or 4 players are these bubble players, these fringe players on the starting lineups. And then you have, so 12 through like 17 or 18. Who's in that bubble? Because those players are going to come off the bench in the 60th minute, the 70th minute, the 80th minute to bring a game home or to help, insert some energy and some, whatever you want to call it into a game. And then you have your next fringe, which is at 18, 19 through 25. Remember, you can name 25, I believe, to the roster, but it can only dress, I believe, 18. I think in the World Cup. I don't know the specifics. Most leagues are like 20 you can dress, and then you can only bring in 5 subs, right? And so I believe you can dress 18 in a World Cup. And one of those is the goalkeeper. And so a backup goalkeeper. And so maybe it's 20. I know that, I think UPSL you can dress 20. You can dress 20 in the WPSL, USL League 2, I think you can dress 20. But you name 25 and you have 7 players who will never, make their way, into maybe the lineups per se. But they'll be there for practicing purposes. But, where is he at in this? Is he in the top 18 players in the United States who will compete for a chance? So this will ultimately give him that opportunity, Nathan and Ryan, to do what Ryan just said, which is to get yourself in a position to be seen on a regular basis here in the United States. And I don't think I discount what he did over there. He didn't do much over there. You talk about all the players playing right now across the pond. He's probably a small blip.
Yeah.
You talk about it. He played 33 games last year in Division II. And he scored 8 goals. In 33. It's actually not bad, right? You think about that. 33 goals, 33 games, 8 goals. It's not terrible, right? So, but again. He's here for a reason, and we'll see how that kind of shapes up. I think the other thing that we didn't talk about him a lot, he's a brother of Brendan Aronson. His brother's obviously a better player. Well, you can't say better. That's the wrong word, comparably.
Older.
You can say, though, he is performing better.
Yeah.
Right? With the opportunities that he's been given, he is excelling, and we haven't seen that same thing from Paxton. Will we see a shift? Time will tell. But again, that's big move for Aronson coming back home to Colorado, playing here in the United States, playing the MLS. He should have an immediate impact to help the Colorado Rapids, who are currently sitting 7th in the Western Conference. Maybe give them a bump and maybe help them in a playoff run. If he can do that, then that will be a huge thing for the Colorado as well. Coming up next here, We'll dive into the Big Ten and the Horizon League as they announce their preseason polls. Who is the number one pick in both of those to win their leagues? We'll tell you that and more on the other side of this break.
Experience the thrill of the game like never before with NSN's Game Rewind. Dive into full match commentaries enhanced with cutting-edge dynamic graphics, letting you relive the highs and lows of your favorite matches in astonishing detail. Whether it's a championship win or a legendary play, NSN Game Rewind bridges the past and future with a broadcast experience designed to captivate. Call 586-304-4405 and start watching today.
And welcome back here into Inside the Game, number 141. That's right, 141 episodes in. We're live right now on YouTube, Roku TV, Facebook, and Twitter, so you can watch us just about anywhere this morning. Jonathan Turner alongside Nathan Wengler, our producer Ryan Glinsky. We're about to dive into the Big Ten here as they have announced their preseason polls. But I remind everybody that you can watch this on Roku TV, so you haven't done it already. Get over to your Roku TV, download NSN on your TV, and watch us there, because it's more fun to watch it on your TV than on your phone. At least that's what some people say.
Yeah.
That's true or not, I don't know. But either way, last year, and when I say last year, last soccer season, which was in the fall of 2024, Vermont won the national championship. We talked about them in a previous coverage of preseason polls. Indiana has been a staple, in the polls and in their success over the years, right? And we talk about Yeagley as the head coach,
Never daunted
at Indiana. Indiana. Nathan, can you not hear me?
No, I said never daunted.
Oh yeah,
Never
Indiana
daunted. They'll never
obviously
falter.
Is as the number one, and tabbed as to win the Big Ten here this season. We'll also look at players to watch as well. But again, Indiana, it's normal territory for them, right? They've been here before. They're gonna.
Yeah.
They're just a really strong team, and they've got some really good players on their team as well. Indiana last year fell out in the quarterfinals. They lost to Denver, who made their way to a Final Four, right? The semifinals, where they ultimately lost to Vermont in a penalty shootout. When then we know what happened with Vermont. So Indiana has a tremendous history in men's soccer, in college soccer, and you just can't say enough about this. But then underneath them is Maryland. You got Ohio State. Ohio State also made a good run last year.
Yeah.
Right? Ohio State, all the way, again, themselves, made it all the way into a semifinal. They made it to the Final Four last year. They fell short. They lost to Marshall, a 13 seed. And so Ohio State right there at third. UCLA, Washington, and then Michigan at 6. Now, Michigan made their first appearance in the College Cup last year in a couple of years. There he is. They ended up beating Wright State in the opening round, then went on to lose to Dayton in the second round. I actually had a chance to call that game, the Michigan versus Wright State game, with Dean Linke. We did that. That was fun. We did that on the Big Ten Network here last year, so that was a blast for me. But, again, this top to bottom, Michigan State 7, Wisconsin 8, Rutgers 9, Penn State 10, and Northwestern is 11. And so that rounds out your top 10 here, your Big Ten preseason polls. Players to watch, though. We look at this, and I don't have a graphic for this, but, Palmer Alt played for Flint City Bucks here 2 years ago, and that is an unbelievable player. Palmer Alt is a special player. we've also got Josh Maher and Collins Oduro, who all play for Indiana. Michigan, Raimundo Mendez, the goalkeeper, Nolan Miller, and Shuma Sasaka, a graduate student. Apologize, Mendez is a midfielder/forward, but Sasaka, he's a good player. These are good players from Michigan. Looking up and down, again, the players to watch. A number of high-caliber players. Jason Gagdahar, Nigel Prince, and Fritz Volmar from Northwestern. Ohio State, Marco Barkovitz, Thomas July, and Luciano Pachota, who's a senior midfielder for Ohio State. I mean, the talent in the Big Ten is huge.
Yeah. Well, I got 2 shout-outs. Number 1, Salvatore Donato, our guy over at Rochester Adams. We got to cover a little bit last year. Best of luck going to play for Ohio State. I will never cheer for your team, but I'll cheer for your individual success. That is something that I will do. I love my guys from Michigan. You'll always get a vote from me if you're from the Mitten State. The other shout-out I want to give, Ryan Glinsky. He's been making some absolute bangers, some videos for our social media that have done really well. But I got one question for you, Ryan. You did your list of the top college soccer programs in the United States, and you didn't include Indiana in the list. What the hell are we doing? What are we doing? Come on, they got to be somewhere in that top 10. And the reason being is, JT, and I'm going to bring it back to one person that you mentioned, Palmer Alt is back. He was a part of that super draft in the MLS second-round selection this year in that super draft. 54 points in his career in Indiana, 21 goals, 12 assists. The senior is coming back to college after being selected in that draft to play another season with Indiana. We know what their resume is, right? But the biggest thing when you talk about a team emerging from a conference, especially like the Big Ten, is you have to have your headliner and your headliners. I mean, they have a few different players. Collins Oduro, who's a really strong player. He's just a junior. Josh Maurer, who is just a sophomore defender, but he's already someone who's put the Big Ten on notice, so he's someone that can hold down that back line and a very experienced back line for Indiana. But if you get your headliner back, right, I look at this in the way of, players maybe bypassing going to whatever professional league it is. You could say the NFL, you could say any other top league to come back to college. If you get the headliner, if you get the guy to come back, I understand that the postseason last year was a disappointment for Indiana. That's something that they can certainly overturn. But getting Palmer Alt back, Flint City's own, and someone who was arguably the best player in the Big Ten last year, makes all the difference in the world for an Indiana team who, again, has made a reputation of being one of those top teams. I'm messing with you, by the way, Ryan. Great video. Anyways, also, another team that I really like, though, on that list, and I know we saw what Ohio State did last year, I think there's a very real chance that OSU can be back in the conversation again this season. I like UCLA, JT. I understand that, last year they were only 7-6-6, 3-4-3 in conference play. They did make the NCAA tournament, but they were kind of one of those bubble teams. They were kind of on the edge, was UCLA. But 13 conference championships in the Pac-12. They won the Pac-12 title in 2023. Their move to the Big Ten has not been nearly as successful, but this is the team that has a lot of returners. And again, you talked about some of the names on that watch list that you were just mentioning. Drew Brown, a graduate defender for that team, a lot of experience, someone that has been great in that spot. Sophomore midfielder Tamir Radovitz, who has been unbelievable. Again, that's one of those names. I apologize if I'm not pronouncing that correctly. They have a young midfield, but a talented midfield. Also, sophomore forward Sergi Solans Ormo, not to mention some of the transfers that they've gotten. So that was an extremely young team a season ago that now might be starting to find its footing, and that's why you see them getting that top 4 selection. They were dominant in the Pac-12, but you talked about how deep the Big Ten is. That sometimes leads to disappointing results, but it also leads to that team just having to grow into the conference they're in. I know we were doing sleepers, and I know you picked NC State for the ACC. I think UCLA could be a team that could very well emerge from the Big Ten this year. But I think Indiana's still far and away, especially with returning Palmer Alt. Yeah, look out for the Hoosiers. I know the entire fight song, by the way, because I'm a dork. So
You should sing it.
Never daunted, we'll never falter through the battle. We're tried and true. Indiana, 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 we're all for you. IU. There you go.
That was wonderful, Nate.
That's
That was
the
wonderful.
abbreviated
Where's the
version.
clapping?
Thank you.
Which one? Yeah, there we go.
Yes. Yeah, go Hoosiers. Who's your daddy?
Yeah, Nate.
Bam.
Hoosiers.
So, Indiana has won 8 national championships in their history. Their last one was back in 2012. And so they're ranked nationally number 11. They had 6, I believe, first-place votes in that national poll. They are always in the conversation. You know, every year when you start talking about who's going to win a national championship, Indiana's always in the conversation, very much like for the last couple 15 years. Ohio State, Alabama are in that conversation, right? And in football, the same thing is true with Indiana. They're always in that conversation. On the women's side, it's obviously North Carolina, right? North Carolina's always in that conversation because they've won so many national championships over the years. Todd Yakeley's in his 13th season. This is a team that made it all the way last year to a quarterfinal and fell short to Denver, who went on and fell short in the semifinals. So, yes, I mean, Indiana is a team that is to be reckoned with, and based on everything we know about Indiana, they are the gold standard in soccer in the Big Ten. And so, yes. But the thing I think is really important is that when it comes down to the Big Ten championship, right, the tournament, all right, I don't know how many teams make. I think it's 6. I think it's 6 teams. Again, I don't know. I'm going to have Ryan look it up real quick. It's either 6 or 8. And so, you know, obviously if you're the first or second seed, you're going to get a bye, typically, right? And then they
Top 7.
Top 7. So top 7 will go. So yeah, that first seed will get a bye. So number 1 seed gets a bye, and then anything can happen. We saw it last year with the women's side, North Carolina, right? They were actually finished 4th in the league. Ended up losing in the championship game, right? And then won the national title. You don't have to win the Big Ten championship to become a national champion, but it gives you a great stepping stone, especially if you're a team like maybe the middle of the pack here. Because again, 7 teams are going to go, and how many teams in the Big Ten men's are actually going to make their way into the College Cup, right? Reserved for the top 32 teams in this country. And typically, your conferences like Big Ten will get 3 or 4 teams. You get the ACC will get a handful of teams, right? Your Big East, again, mid-majors, Horizon gets 1, right? Missouri Valley is going to get 1. It's going to be the winner, right? And so you think about that. Well, how is that outlier, like a UCLA? Well, how do they get in? Well, they get in because of their name. Let's be honest. They're going to get in because of their name, and they're 4th. And they finished 4th in the Big Ten. They will get into the College Cup. The question becomes, Michigan, Michigan State, you know, the teams like Rutgers, those teams, how do they make their way into the College Cup? Well, they have to go win the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to be that. I mean, again, they're, you know, and I think Shaka
See
did
that
a
in
great
basketball.
job.
Yeah.
Huh?
For sure. You see that in basketball, teams getting in because their namesake. And I mean, that's, you know, it is what it is. Yeah, it's a part of it. But
so Indiana's assuring they could finish 7th in the damn Big Ten. They're still going to the damn College Cup. I mean, like, you know, they're going to, I mean, maybe that's an extreme, but I mean, they're going to get in just because of who they are. And so I think it's important, you know, to say that. But we're going to slide over now and talk Horizon League because, well, I mean, we have two preseason polls that came out yesterday. We're going to dive into that right now. Green Bay edges out Oakland, but narrowly in their picks here. You see there, 86 votes for Oakland, 87 for Green Bay. Remember, Oakland won the league title last year, falling short in the semifinals to the eventual winner in Wright State. Actually, it was Robert Morris that won it last year, I think. If not, Robert Morris, not Wright State. Robert Morris won the whole thing in the Big Ten, in the Horizon League. Went on and lost to Michigan in Ann Arbor. But Robert Morris right there below them. Cleveland State is in 4th. Purdue Fort Wayne in 5th. Milwaukee 6th. Wright State 7th. IU Indy is 8. Detroit Mercy 9. And Northern Kentucky there at the bottom. And, you know, again, Green Bay just narrowly makes their way into the number 1 spot here. Not by much, but enough is enough, right? 1 point gets you there. In the whole scheme of things, again, I believe, 4 teams on the Horizon make their way into actually, I think it's actually maybe it's 7. Again, Ryan, you're gonna have to tell me. I don't know this is good to know,
Give me
though.
a second.
It's good to know what
the host doesn't know. Hurry up.
how many makes make it in. It could be 6, it could be 7. I know there's a quarterfinal. I know that typically the 1st and 2 seed get the first round bye, and so maybe it's 8 teams.
All right.
What I will say though is, and I'll wait for the round of round of applause button, little elevator music.
Looks like 6.
6 teams.
And then 1 and 2 get the bye.
Yeah, so 6 teams. So 1 and 2 get a bye, and so so Milwaukee, up through Green Bay, you got Wright State, IU, Indy, Detroit Mercy, and Northern Kentucky all looking out, looking from the outside in. So.
Yeah, I got to give a shout out to Paul Doro though. So that's my 3rd shout out of the day. I got 3 of them now, but he you talk about keeping a roster around. That's the hardest thing to do as a college coach in 2025, man. Maintaining roster integrity, and especially when you're able to build momentum and have success, that's a tough thing to do, because how many times have we seen players go to mid-majors, have a good year, and all of a sudden they're gone? I mean, it's like 2-3 sheets to the wind. Like you didn't know, they just disappear. They're into the transfer portal. They're out of here. The one thing the Grizzlies have done is they've maintained roster integrity through this entire process. They were great last year, 5-1 against the rest of the top 5 ranked teams in the poll in 2024. So they've beaten some of the greatest teams. But the one thing that they do have is a roster that is continuing, that is really picking up from where they were last year, in just going into this same season. I mean, a squad that's returning 22 total players for Oakland, 13 players who started at least one game in 2024. Again, a couple of different names on this list, but then you also factor in what they did, a couple of transfer acquisitions at the same time, right? So not only is Paul Doro keeping the squad that he has that had that level of success, but now he's bringing in and introducing new elements that could really help bring them to the next level. You think of Tal Roca, you think of Josh Francoeur, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. Seasoned players, overseas experience. Detroit Mercy transfer, going from one rival to the next, and Tim Allos, who looked really sharp during the preseason, at least from all accounts that we've been seeing. There's a lot of different new blood that they've introduced into the program, again, with those 22 players that are coming back from a season ago who made a run to a league title. So top to bottom, man, I think this could really be Oakland's year. I think they have that camaraderie of a team that's just been together.
Again, it'd be the 3rd year in a row.
Yeah. So
I think, and again, there was a lot of thoughts that they weren't going to do it last year, because Paul Doro was in his first year as the head coach. The year before that, it was Eric Pogue, and they're obviously with all that took place, and so So I mean, this could be the 3rd year in a row they win it, and make their way to to being a number 1 seed and hosting it again here this fall. Coming up here next on Inside the Game, Highmark Stadium is getting an upgrade. We'll talk about that and the reason why and how much on the other side of the break. You're watching episode number 141 here of Inside the Game.
Are you ready to create unforgettable moments for your audience? NSN offers professional live streaming and full broadcast services tailored to your needs. From high-quality production to exceptional coverage, we ensure your game or event becomes a spectacle to remember. Book your next game with us today. Call 586-304-4405 to schedule your broadcast and let NSN bring the action to life like never before.
Welcome back here into our Shelby Township studios here in Metro Detroit, Grand Rapids. Nathan Wengler. I'm Jonathan Turner. Ryan Glinsky, our producer here this morning. And again, we're going to talk here about how Highmark Stadium is getting an upgrade. And we talked about this in regards to Detroit City FC here just last week, talking about this brand new stadium that they are, in fact, getting. seats 15,000. All of a sudden, Pittsburgh getting a stadium upgrade to go from their 6,000 to 15,000 seats. And why are they doing that, you may ask? Well, there's a reason. The reason is that Highmark Stadium, if you want to be considered a Division I program, club in the United States, you have to have a seating capacity of 15,000 seats in your home stadium. And so this is in direct response to the U.S. South here announcing that in 2028, they're going to have a new Division I league. And Pittsburgh Riverhounds, Detroit City FC are making it known that they are preparing to be Division I teams here in the United States so they can participate in that league. And if you notice, both of these stadiums have room for growth. If you looked at the Detroit City FC renderings here last week and look at this one, there is some opportunity for both stadiums to take on even more capacity, because I think the MLS's requirements is around 20 to 23,000 is their capacity. So my first question is this is for you, Nathan, is this in fact exciting news for USL Championship and obviously the Division I, and teams like Pittsburgh who have sold out I think 70% of their games this season, and in a lot of cases have exceeded their capacity because of standing room only. Is this good for soccer?
I think it's creating an arms race. I think that's what's kind of going on. And I think when one organization makes a move or a big move to have big renovations like we saw with Detroit City FC, I think that kind of puts the pressure on other programs to be able to step up their game. Listen, I am a fan of stadiums that are built to the community that surrounds them, right? And if you have a community that can come out and can fill it out, and Pittsburgh is one of them, then you're building a stadium that caters to that community because of obviously how large the population is, its location, it's in a prime spot, it's right on the river there. That's something that I was very complimentary of when we came on for our broadcast that we did that was at that stadium, because I do think it's one of the things that Pittsburgh just has that not everybody has, is that big old river running through the middle of it. That's why I think PNC Park, at least when we talk about Major League Baseball, is the prettiest park in all of Major League Baseball, and I really hope that I can go to see it someday. So for Pittsburgh specifically, I'm gonna say yes. I do think it is great. I think it's good that they're stepping up, that they're building more, that they're going to get more people into the stands. Any way to listen. And I said this yesterday with Amir Bektis, who joined us on episode 140. If you build it, they'll come. Especially in a place like Pittsburgh, especially in a place like Detroit. I mean, you saw the reception to the post we put up on social media. I mean, there's a lot of people that are very excited about not only a bigger stadium, but the fact that the club itself is going to own it. It's not owned by the city. It's not owned by the state. It's owned by the club itself. So I do think it is obviously, I mean, we talked about some of the inherent issues when it comes to, and I know that we're coming up on our question of the day, so it'll be interesting to chat about that. But there is definitely an arms race going on in soccer right now. Is it good? I think it's good because it's going to bring more people out, but it's also, again, you have to buy your way into that position. There's not every soccer organization in the world, not every soccer team in the world or community is going to be able to support something like that. So it's good for their community. It's good for Pittsburgh soccer. There's certainly a group that has proven that they can fill it out, that they can populate that place. I don't think they'll have any problem with that. I feel the same exact way about Detroit City FC. But is it good for soccer? I don't know if there's a clear-cut yes or no to that question. I think there's a little bit of a gray area. It just proves again that if you want to move up a level, it's not how you play. This isn't like Europe. You can't win your way into higher levels. You have to buy your way there because there's a seating capacity for the stadium, because there's other things that you have to check off the list. I mean, it's much like in college. If you want to go from Division II to Division I, I mean, why do you think Grand Valley State out here in Metro Grand Rapids doesn't want to go Division I? Well, they don't want to have to pay for all the facility upgrades. They don't want to have to pay for all this other stuff that would make them viable to be a Division I program, because we see what happens to mid-majors who are there, but they can't really, get the funding or anything else like that. It ends up burying them. So good, bad, I don't know, in the middle on it a little bit, but certainly exciting for Pittsburgh. I'll put it that way.
No, I would agree with that sentiment. I do caution the fact that we are we've talked about this a lot about the money component of all of this, and how expensive soccer is, and how for most teams in this country they're not making any money. They're losing money.
Yeah.
And so my biggest concern is that here you are, you're investing $125 million, $200 million, right? You're investing this money, and let's be honest, I mean, you can say $125 million, but I don't think there's ever been a project in the history of mankind that involves construction that comes in under budget. So 125 million might be the number, but it's probably more like 200 million, right? So, the deadlines will never be hit, right? Anyway, so with that being said, is it worth it? Obviously, when I look at Detroit City FC in the USL Championship, I know that when we were going there for $10 a seat, that if they wanted to maintain and sustain themselves, they were going to have to, one, raise their ticket prices, and two, they're going to have to get more seats.
Yeah.
I mean, again, if you're packing everybody in and you're selling this thing out and you're bringing in $70,000 a game, 7,000 fans times $10 a ticket on average, bringing in $70,000 a game. You host 20 games a season. That's a significant money coming in. But if you just say the same 7,000 come in, you charge them 20, right? You can only go so far at Keyworth Stadium, right? Because people aren't going to come there for $40 when it's a glorified high school stadium. That's what it is.
Right.
And so you go to, this brand new stadium that's $150 million and it's got 15,000 seats and it's, it's new and it's clean and it's fresh. You can charge $80, $100 for a seat. And what do? You immediately inject more cash into your business. The question becomes, will they be able to sustain it? That's something that I think is the most important question that we need to ask. Is it, in fact, sustainable? And I guess time will tell. I am worried because teams across this country who are playing professional have a hard time maintaining profitability. And how do we do that in this game? Especially in which, we're seeing, again, just the way that soccer has changed in this country, and the way we're seeing it at the professional ranks. I have some concerns about that, but I think it's exciting for Pittsburgh. I think it's exciting for the league. Again, they're doing this for a purpose. They are trying to get to that League One status, that Division One status, when this new league launches in 28, and that is exactly why they're doing it. And it's perfect. And so USL Championship, Detroit City FC, and Pittsburgh are definitely trying to get to Division One in the USL. So it is clear as day. It is obvious. It is out there. That's what they're trying to do. If tomorrow they changed it to 15,100, we'd see them go add 100 more seats. So that's what they're doing, and it's great. It's great stuff. But coming up here, we'll have our question of the day, and it's going to be a good one. So don't go anywhere on Inside the Game. Question of the day coming up here next.
The Flint City Bucks are Michigan's top soccer franchise with 4 national championships, 9 conference titles, and 15 Great Lakes Division titles. They have produced 107 players for Major League Soccer, and they focus on attracting top talent and shaping soccer's future. Michigan Bucks Academy joins NLS Next new competition tier starting in September of 2025. This offers elevated levels of play and flexibility for high school participation. The Academy will provide premier development, high-performance training, and exposure to scouts through regional tournaments and MLS Next events. For more information on tryouts, training programs, and key updates as we prepare for our first season in MLS Next new tier, visit MichiganBucksAcademy.com.
Welcome back here into Inside the Game here on this Thursday morning. Got a great show lineup here tomorrow as well. We'll have 2 guests here tomorrow morning on the show. We'll have Mark Elliott, who will join me here tomorrow. We'll dive into what that's all about. I don't want to really go into any more detail. We'll also have Josh Taylor, Director of Communications for NISA. Join us here tomorrow on the air. There's some breaking news that'll be announced here later this morning, right at lunchtime, and we'll bring it to you live here on the National Soccer Network, so we'll keep you updated about that. But that's really exciting stuff involving NISA, and, well, if we're talking about breaking news for NISA, maybe it involves us too, but we'll let you know at noon. You can check that out right here on all of our platforms. So, but question of the day. This is a good one, and it comes back to, and I think this all sparked yesterday as a result of what was going on with Paxton and what was in regards to Alexi Lalas. It came up. Someone was talking about how they believe that the MLS is inferior because of this.
Well, yeah, but before we do that, we do have to put in a little bit of a sponsor. Salt is the official sponsor of NSN and Question of the Day. Make sure you use NSN 15 as your promo code to save 15%. Scan that QR code or visit saltathletic.com today. But as long as I get this one correct, question of the day. Oh.
Hold on, real quick though. This is Salt right here. This is it. I'm gonna get it on camera. Okay. This, you're like, what is it? Well, for those people out there who have those stinky cleats, you know, you go out, you run around on the turf, it gets rained on, it's sweat, whatever it might be. This here is the Salt cleat bag. They have this patent like snap that closes in and locks in the smell. It locks in the stink. All right. Now we're gonna start to test this thing out to see really how this thing does. I want to put some things in here that maybe aren't alive anymore to see how much this thing actually protects this thing. Okay. So we're gonna test this out on social media. But hey, guess what? Great news is this: if you go to saltathletic.com. And you type in the promo code at checkout, NSN15, you will save 15% off this bag. That's upwards of, I believe, almost close to $10 on this bag. So it's normally $60, I believe. And so you're going to save some good money on this. So, and that's because of our relationship with them, and you guys get to save some money. So check out the bag. They also have a goalkeeper glove bag, too. And as a former goalkeeper, I can tell you that my parents wanted to be nowhere near me after a soccer game because of my gloves. And so just like a hockey environment, right? The hockey environment is pretty terrible, right? With all those pads and all that stuff. Same thing is true with goalkeeper gloves. So check out saltathletic.com. And coming soon, we'll actually have giveaways that we can send your way as part of this process. So a really exciting partnership with them. And we'll hopefully have Joaquin here join us in the future. But yeah, let's get into our question of the day. We'll put it on your screen.
Yeah, question of the day. Is the MLS an inferior product because of promotion and relegation?
I'm going to start with this one, Nathan. I don't think it's anything to do with pro or rel. Now, if we're talking about as important here, domestically, no. Mm-hmm. MLS is the superior product in the United States. Okay, there's not another league that is better than the MLS right now. You can talk about pro rel all day long, and that means jack shit when it comes to like the quality of soccer in this country. The MLS right now is it. It's the gold standard, okay? Now, if we're talking about the world, then yes, the MLS is an inferior product, and it has nothing to do with pro rel. Has nothing to do with it. So if you think that it has some, no, it doesn't. We can talk about the USL Championship all day long and how great that is, and now they're going to offer Pro Rel and USL Division I, blah, blah, whatever. Again, it means nothing when you talk about talent, okay? And right now, the MLS has the best talent in the United States of America, bar none, when it comes to men's soccer, period. And if you want to sit here and tell me that because the Midwest Premier League has Pro Rel in the Gateway Conference, that somehow they're a better league, you are out of your mind, and you need to go be looked at. And that's okay. It's okay. You know, it's fine. Go get that checked because it doesn't make them better. Okay. And if you want to talk about how fans aren't taken care of, and we love our, teams don't show love to me, my guy, my girl, I mean, we still go to places that we don't like just because the product is what we want. I mean, I don't live on this hill or this mountain where if someone does something that I don't like, I stop buying their products. I don't do that, Nathan. I mean, I don't. I mean, I know a lot of people do. They're like, well, no, but I really do like Chick-fil-A. It's like, I really do like Jersey Mike's when I could eat it. But it's like I don't get in. I don't subscribe to that nonsense. If I like a product, I'm going to buy it. So, or a service for that matter. The MLS
I think people
is not inferior because of pro rel. Period. End of discussion. I know you have a point as well.
No, it just listen. Economically, it's just not feasible. I know that this is something that there are even some European leagues that are considering getting rid of pro rel. I mean, let's admit, guys, it's a little antiquated. I mean, exactly what it is. I understand the authenticity of, you can just kind of start. You think of the story of Detroit City FC, right? About how it was just a couple guys, soccer field, they had a dream, they built something, and now seeing what it's blossoming into in them trying to get into Division One in a brand new 15,000 seat stadium, which is in a gorgeous part of town in Corktown. I've seen major renovations, people moving in, gentrification, the whole thing. It's awesome to see, and it may seem discouraging for people that, oh man, they can't get into the top league though. No matter how good they do, they're never going to be able to climb into that top league. Listen, in the United States with where we are, and specifically when it comes down to the mandates of, again, seating and everything else that you need to have when it comes to Major League Soccer, economically, we're not set up for that to ever succeed. I mean, you think of someone like Inter Miami, right? So let's take like Detroit City FC, for example, or, another team that might be in that Division One or, even a lower league that ends up winning their way into MLS, right? Like, let's just take this hypothetical. They have pro rel, they're into the league. Okay, so you have Inter Miami that's flying around on charter flights. You have, all of their meals are taken care of. They have the top trainers. They have the top facilities. They have everything else along those lines. Meanwhile, whatever team's coming up from Division One or the USL Championship, they're taking Greyhound buses across the country. They can't necessarily afford this accommodation or that accommodation, or they're not set up for this. It creates this mess. It would be an unfiltered mess if they tried to implement pro rel in the U.S. It just simply doesn't work, and a lot of that comes down to geographics, guys. I mean, this is the biggest part about the conversation. Like, you can fit the entirety of the UK or England into what, Michigan? I mean, I think Texas is 4 times the size. Like, there's a lot of that stuff that I don't think we take into consideration when we talk about pro rel. Now, again, does it take away from the authenticity of the game? We've talked about our frustrations of how there's not really a clear-cut soccer pyramid in the United States like we think we know. But then again, if you talk to any of the heads of these leagues, they're going to tell you, no, well, we have the best players outside of MLS. No one really knows. So where MLS is an inferior product, to your point, JT, and I know that sometimes we've butted heads on this before, but I'm going to agree with the sentiment that they're not an inferior product because of pro rel. That's not really going to change a lot in the U.S. The best talent is in the MLS. Their issue is that if anybody's any good and they have an opportunity to get transferred overseas, they're going to take that opportunity. That's why the MLS is, quote, the inferior product. Now, we see, obviously, trends going in a different direction. We see players coming here who were very good in Europe, who could still be very productive in Europe. I'm thinking of who the LAFC player is that just transferred over here for a record deal. But, obviously, Messi's still productive. We're seeing a little bit of that year after year, and I think it's slowly moving that direction. But just saying that the MLS right? isn't where, yeah. But just to say that the MLS isn't on the level it needs to be because there's no pro rel, it's just not feasible. It's not the way the league is set up, and it's set up like a lot of the other American leagues, and I think that's what hits people the wrong way. Is it's set up like an NBA, like an MLB, like any of those other closed off leagues that you can't just get into it, So I just don't think it's feasible. I mean, I understand, the authenticity of, you want to start a team and make it all the way to the top league. And there's a lot of, good, warm feelings about that. I just don't think, I don't think that's what makes it an inferior league. I think the level of overall talent compared to the Bundesliga, Serie A, Premier League, Champions League, that's what makes it an inferior league, not the fact that the Pittsburgh Riverhounds can't make their way into the MLS.
I couldn't agree with you more. Just by the way, just happening here just a moment ago. If you didn't know, our main company, our parent company, Premier Media Group, which happens to be involved, obviously, in the National Soccer Network, we just received our contract extension from Division I, Oakland University. It will run through 2026. So we get another year of broadcasting their broadcasts on ESPN Plus. They're 80-plus broadcasts a year. So that's literally in my email box as we were doing this. So, hey, great show. I love the new look and feel to what we're doing here. I think what we're doing as far as our new layout, our new segments, everything, I think it's going to start to flow. Obviously, I know we are over by a little bit, but that's, that we'll work on that. We keep talking about maybe we might have to add another hour in. We'll let you know about that. Who knows? That could be a thing we do here in the future. You never know. Tomorrow morning, we got two guests. Again, Elliot Mark Leonard will join me here from RFX Recruiting. We'll also have Josh Taylor on the show here tomorrow morning with NISA, talking about all the great things happening with them coming up here in October, as they've announced their NISA Pro Cup, which will, again, start here October 15th is when the actual date will be. And so we're excited about that. We'll break some news about that today at noon. So stay tuned for that here on all of our social media and all of our platforms. And tomorrow morning back here doing this all over again at 9 a.m. here, same time, same place. Again, all of our sponsors are down below, so give them some love. Let them know that you love what you're watching here and being a part of it. And everywhere you see down below there, opportunity to save some money. I've got new sponsors coming here. We've signed 3 contracts just in the last week alone, and so we'll have those on the screen coming up here very shortly. And we're really excited. But anyways, hey, 141 is in the books. That's Nathan Wangler, Ryan Glinsky. I'm Jonathan Turner. Be back here tomorrow morning, same time, same place, right here on Inside the Game. From the biggest matches to the hottest takes, Jonathan Turner and Nathan Wangler bring you the stories, the analysis, and the edge you won't get anywhere else. Streaming live weekdays at 9 a.m. on YouTube, Roku TV, Facebook, Twitter, and all major platforms. No filters, no fluff, just real talk, real soccer. This is Inside the Game.